The night sky over the small village was always quiet, liked it that way. He was a simple farmer, living alone on his grandfather's old land. The rice fields stretched far, and the mountains stood tall behind his wooden house. Life was peaceful and wanted nothing more. He was 32 years old. He had no wife, no children. His parents had died when he was young, and his grandfather raised him until he too passed away. Now lived with only his dog, a brown mutt named. She was old and lazy, but she was good company. That night sat on his porch, drinking tea. The stars were bright. He could see them clearly because there were no city lights nearby. He often wondered if anyone lived up there among those distant points of light. He never thought he would find out. Then he saw it. A streak of fire cut across the sky. At first thought it was a shooting star, but it was too big, too bright, and it was getting closer. The sound came next, a terrible roaring noise that made bark and run inside the house. Stood up, his tea falling from his hands. The fireball crashed into his rice field. The ground shook, fell to his knees. Smoke and dust rose into the air, blocking the stars. For a long moment he could not move. His heart was beating so fast he thought it might break. But then, slowly, he stood up. He grabbed his flashlight and walked toward the crash. The rice field was destroyed. A large hole had been made in the earth. Inside that hole was something he had never seen before. It was not a rock or a piece of metal from an airplane. It was a machine. A small ship, shaped like a teardrop, with smooth silver skin that glowed faintly in the dark. Stopped at the edge of the hole, he was afraid. Anyone would be afraid, but something made him go closer. Maybe it was curiosity, maybe it was fate. He slid down into the hole and approached the ship. Part of the ship was broken. There was a crack in its side and strange blue light leaked out from inside. Heard a sound, a soft sound like crying. He moved closer and looked through the crack. Inside he saw a girl. She was not human. Her skin was pale blue like the winter sky. Her hair was silver and long, falling around her face. She had two small horns on her forehead and her ears were pointed like leaves. But her eyes were the most strange and beautiful thing he had ever seen. They were gold like melted sun, and they were filled with tears. She was hurt. There was dark purple blood on her arm and on her side. She was holding herself, shaking, crying softly. She looked young, maybe like a human girl of 17 or 18 years. Did not know what to do. He had never seen an alien before. He did not even believe they were real until this moment. But this girl was real. She was hurt. She was scared. And she needed help. He reached his hand through the crack. The girl saw him and screamed. She tried to move away, but she was too weak. She fell back against the wall of her ship, breathing fast, staring at him with wide golden eyes. Did not move. He kept his hand out, open and gentle. He spoke softly, even though he knew she could not understand him. "It is okay," he said. "I will not hurt you. You are safe now." The girl did not understand his words, but she understood his voice. It was calm. It was kind. She looked at his hand, then at his face. She saw no anger there, no greed, no cruelty. She saw only a simple man who wanted to help. Slowly, very slowly, she reached out her hand and took his. Helped her out of the broken ship. She was light, lighter than he expected. He carried her in his arms, climbing out of the hole and walking back to his house. Barked when she saw the strange girl, but told her to be quiet. He laid the girl on his bed. He found his old first aid kit and looked at her wounds. The cuts were not too deep, but they were bleeding badly. He cleaned them as gently as he could. The girl watched him the whole time. She did not speak. She did not move. She only watched with those golden eyes. When he finished, brought her water. She did not know what it was at first. He showed her by drinking some himself. Then she understood and drank deeply. She must have been very thirsty. "My name is," he said, pointing to himself. The girl looked at him. Then she pointed to herself. "Lyra," she said. Her voice was soft and musical like wind through bells. "Lyra," repeated. He smiled. That is a pretty name. Lyra did not smile back. She was still too scared, still too confused, but something in her eyes changed. A tiny bit of the fear went away. She was still in danger, still far from home, still hurt, but she was not alone anymore. Outside, the night grew darker. Heard strange sounds in the distance, ships flying overhead, searching. He looked out his window and saw lights in the sky, red and angry, moving back and forth over the village. Someone was looking for Lyra, someone who did not seem friendly. Closed the curtains. He turned off all the lights in his house. He sat beside Lyra's bed in the darkness, listening to the sounds outside, lay at his feet, growling softly. Lyra grabbed his hand. Her fingers were cold and thin. She was shaking again, not from pain this time, but from fear. She knew who was out there. She knew what they would do if they found her. Squeezed her hand gently. He did not know who was hunting her. He did not know why, but he knew one thing for certain. He would not let them take her. He had found this girl in his field, scared and bleeding, and he had promised to keep her safe. He was a simple farmer with no weapons, no power, no army. But he had something else. He had his word, and he would keep it. The ships flew over his house once, twice, 3 times. Each time held his breath. Each time Lyra squeezed his hand, but the ships moved on. They did not stop. They did not find her. When morning came, the sky was quiet again. The red lights were gone. Looked out his window and saw his ruined rice field, the hole in the earth, the broken ship still smoking gently. He would have to hide it somehow. He would have to be careful. He looked back at Lyra. She had fallen asleep, still holding his hand. Her face was peaceful now, the fear gone for the moment. In sleep, she looked like any young girl, tired and innocent. Did not know what the future would bring. He did not know where Lyra came from or why she was being hunted. He did not know if he could really protect her. But as he watched her sleep, he made a silent promise. Whatever happened, he would try. He would do everything he could. Because that was what humans did. They helped those who needed help. They protected those who could not protect themselves. And sometimes, just sometimes, that simple kindness could change everything. 3 weeks passed since the night Lyra fell from the sky. In that time, his quiet life changed in ways he never expected. He was no longer just a farmer living alone with his old dog. Now he was a protector, a teacher, and something like a friend to a girl from another world. The first few days were the hardest. Lyra could not speak his language and could not speak hers. They communicated through gestures, through drawings in the dirt, through facial expressions and sounds. It was slow and frustrating, but they managed. Humans and aliens, it seemed, were not so different after all. Lyra healed quickly. Her wounds closed faster than any human wound would. Within a week, the cuts on her arm and side were nothing but thin silver scars. Was amazed by this. Lyra seemed to think it was normal. She was curious about everything. The first time she saw, she was terrified. She had never seen a dog before. On her world, there were no such creatures, but was patient and gentle, and soon Lyra was petting her soft brown fur and laughing at the way her tail wagged. That laugh, would never forget the first time he heard it. Lyra had been so serious, so scared, so quiet, but when licked her face, she laughed. It was a bright, clear sound like water over stones. It made smiles so wide his face hurt. Slowly, Lyra began to learn Korean words, taught her one word at a time. Water, food, house, dog, sleep, thank you. She was a fast learner, picking up words after hearing them only once or twice. Within 2 weeks, she could speak in simple sentences. She said one morning, pointing to the window, "What is that, the yellow thing in sky?" "That is the sun," told her. "Sun," Lyra repeated. She watched it rise over the mountains, her golden eyes wide with wonder. "On my world, we have 2 suns. Both are red. This one is more beautiful." Taught her about Earth. He showed her his rice field, explaining how he planted seeds and waited for them to grow. Lyra was fascinated. On her world, food came from machines. The idea of growing it in dirt seemed magical to her. He took her walking in the forest behind his house. She touched every tree, every flower, every stone. She had never seen so much green before. Her world, she explained, was mostly metal and glass. Cities that floated in the sky, ships that traveled between stars. But no forests, no mountains, no rivers like the one showed her. "This is beautiful," Lyra said, standing at the edge of the river, watching the water flow. "Why do humans not show this to everyone? Why do they not share this beauty with the galaxy?" Thought about her question. "Most humans do not know there is a galaxy to share with," he said. "We thought we were alone." Lyra looked at him with something like sadness. "You are not alone. There are many peoples out there. Some are kind, some are not my people." She paused, looking away. "My people are supposed to be the protectors. We rule the empire that keeps peace among the stars." "And you," asked gently, "who are you, Lyra?" She was quiet for a long time. The river flowed past them, making soft sounds against the rocks. Lay in the grass nearby, sleeping in the warm sun. "I am Princess Lyra," she finally said. "Daughter of Queen, ruler of the Empire. My mother is the most powerful person in the galaxy." Stared at her, a princess. A real princess from another world. He had been feeding her rice and soup, letting her wear his old clothes, teaching her the names of vegetables. And she was royalty. "The ships that came that night," said, "the red lights, they were looking for you." Lyra nodded. "Not my people, our enemies. They want to destroy the empire. They tried to kill my mother, but she is too strong, so they tried to take me instead, to use me against her." Her hands were shaking. "I escaped in a small ship, but they shot me down. I did not know where I was going. I just wanted to get away." "And you landed here," said. "And you saved me." Lyra looked at him with those golden eyes. "Why did you save me? You did not know who I was. You did not know if I was dangerous. Why did you help me?" Thought about this. He remembered that night, seeing her in the broken ship, bleeding and crying. He remembered the fear in her eyes, the way she shook when she heard the ships overhead. He had not thought about whether to help her. He had just done it. "Because you needed help," he said simply. "That is enough reason." Lyra did not seem to understand at first. On her world, everything had a reason. Politics, power, advantage. No one did anything without expecting something in return, but expected nothing. He helped her because she needed help. That was all. "Humans are strange," she said softly, "but I think maybe strange is good." The days continued to pass. Worked in his field during the day while Lyra rested or explored the house. In the evenings, they sat together on the porch, watching the stars come out. Lyra pointed to different parts of the sky, naming the places she had been. This star was the center of trade. That cluster was home to a species of gentle giants. Over there was the edge of territory, dark and dangerous. And far away, too far to see with human eyes, was the Lyra's home, her mother's throne. "Do you miss it?" asked. "Yes," Lyra admitted. "I miss my mother, I miss my friends, I miss the view from my window, the sound of ships passing, the taste of food I grew up eating." She paused. "But I am also happy here. You have been kind to me, kinder than anyone I have ever known. On my world, people treat me with respect because I am a princess. Here, you treat me with kindness because that is who you are." Felt his face grow warm. He was not used to such words. He was just a farmer. He did not think of himself as special. "My mother would not understand you," Lyra continued. "She is a great queen, strong and wise, but she has been a ruler for so long that she has forgotten what it is like to simply be kind. Everything she does has purpose. Everything is strategy. If she knew a human had helped me, she would wonder what you wanted in return." "I want nothing," said. Lyra smiled. "I know, and that is what makes you different." Late one night, Lyra shook awake. Her face was pale, her eyes wide with fear. "They are coming," she whispered. "My people, I can feel the signal." Sat up quickly. "The enemies, No, my mother must have tracked my ship." Lyra was trembling. "I do not want to leave, but I must. If my mother sends soldiers here, they will not understand. They might hurt you. They might hurt this whole village." took her hands. They were cold like they had been that first night. "Then we will face them together," he said. "I will not let you go alone." Lyra shook her head. "You do not know what you are saying. My mother, the soldiers, they are not like me. They do not trust humans. They do not even know humans exist. You will be in great danger." "I know," said, "but I made a promise to protect you. That promise does not end because things become difficult." Lyra looked at him for a long moment. Then, slowly, she nodded. She did not have words for what she was feeling. In her whole life, no one had ever chosen to stand beside her simply because it was right. No one had ever put themselves in danger for her without wanting something in return. She had called humans strange, but now she understood. They were not strange. They were brave in a way her people had forgotten how to be. "Thank you," she whispered. "Whatever happens, I will not forget what you have done for me." Outside, a deep rumble filled the sky. Light began to shine through the clouds, bright and golden. They had arrived. The warship descended from the clouds like a god coming down from heaven. It was massive, larger than anything had ever seen. Its surface was smooth and white, glowing with golden light. Strange symbols covered its sides, beautiful and alien. The air itself seemed to hum with power as the ship lowered itself over the rice fields. And Lyra stood on the porch, watching, hid inside the house, whimpering. The old dog could feel that something was wrong, that the world was about to change forever. Smaller ships broke away from the warship, flying down like silver leaves falling from a tree. They landed in the field, crushing what remained of crops. Doors opened and soldiers stepped out. The soldiers were tall and beautiful, like Lyra but more stern. Their skin was the same pale blue, their hair silver and gold and white. They wore armor that looked like flowing water, shifting and changing with every movement. In their hands, they carried weapons that glowed with inner light. There were 12 of them. They spread out, moving in perfect formation, surrounding the small wooden house. Their golden eyes scanned everything, taking in every detail. The ruined field, the simple building, the human man standing on the porch beside their missing princess. One soldier stepped forward. He was taller than the others, with a scar across his face and eyes like cold metal. He spoke in the language, his voice sharp and commanding. Lyra answered him, her voice steady but soft. Did not understand their words, but he could read their body language. The soldier was angry. He pointed at, his lip curling with disgust. Lyra shook her head, speaking faster, more urgently. The soldier raised his weapon. Did not think. He stepped in front of Lyra, spreading his arms wide, putting his body between her and the weapon. It was a foolish thing to do. He was a human, small and weak compared to these alien warriors. Their weapon could probably destroy him with a single shot, but he did not care. He had made a promise. The soldiers went silent. They stared at as if he had grown a second head. None of them could believe what they were seeing. This tiny creature, this primitive being from an unknown world, was standing against armed soldiers to protect their princess. Lyra grabbed his arm and tried to pull him back. "No, they will kill you." "Then they will have to kill me," said quietly. "I will not let them hurt you." The soldier laughed. It was a cold, cruel sound. He spoke again, and this time Lyra translated, her voice shaking. "Commander says you are either very brave or very stupid. He says creatures like you are not worth the dust on his boots. He wants to know why he should not end your life right now." Looked directly at Commander. He could not speak the language, but he spoke anyway, and Lyra translated his words. "Tell him that I am just a farmer. I have no weapons, no army, no power. But I found a girl crashed in my field, scared and bleeding, and I helped her. That is all. I did not know she was a princess. I did not know anything about thee or the empire. I only knew that she needed help and I could give it." Lyra translated. The soldiers exchanged glances. Some looked confused, others looked almost curious, but Commander's face remained hard. "He says that does not matter," Lyra said. He says you have touched royalty. By our laws, that is a crime punishable by death." Felt his heart go cold, but he did not step back. He did not lower his arms. "Then tell him to do what he must, but know this. If he kills me, he will be killing the only person who helped his princess when she had no one else. He will be killing a man whose only crime was kindness, and he will have to look his princess in the eye and explain why." Lyra's voice broke as she translated. Tears ran down her blue cheeks. Commander stared at for a long moment. His finger rested on his weapon. The air was thick with tension. Then Lyra stepped forward. She stood beside, not behind him, and she faced Commander with all the dignity of her royal blood. "I am Princess Lyra, daughter of Queen, heir to the throne," she said in her own language. "And I command you to lower your weapon. This human is under my protection. Any harm that comes to him will be treated as an attack on me personally." The soldiers looked uncertain. They glanced at each other, then at their commander. This was something they had not expected. Their princess, the girl they had been sent to rescue, was defending an alien creature. She was using her royal authority to protect a being that should have meant nothing to her. Commander's eyes narrowed. "Your Highness, this creature is beneath you. It is not worthy of your protection. The Queen would never approve." "The Queen is not here," Lyra said firmly. "I am, and I say this man comes with us. If you refuse, you will answer to my mother yourself." For a long moment, no one moved. The wind blew across the ruined rice field, carrying the smell of earth and growing things. Stood still, barely breathing, waiting to see if he would live or die. Finally, Commander lowered his weapon. His face showed his displeasure clearly, but he was a soldier. He followed orders, and the princess had given him an order. "As you wish, Your Highness," he said stiffly. "But the human will be bound, and if he causes any trouble, I will not be responsible for what happens." Lyra nodded. "Agreed, but he will not be harmed. You have my word." The soldiers moved forward. Two of them grabbed his arms and bound his wrists with glowing bands of energy. The bands did not hurt, but they were tight, could not move his hands. "I am sorry," Lyra whispered to him as the soldiers led them toward the ships. "I did not want this for you." "You have nothing to apologize for," said. "You did what you had to do, and so did I." They were taken aboard one of the smaller ships. The interior was beautiful, all smooth curves and soft light. Seats rose from the floor like flowers blooming. The soldiers made sit apart from Lyra, but she kept looking at him, her eyes full of worry and gratitude. The ship rose into the air and watched his home grow smaller through the window. His house, his field, his mountains, was probably still hiding inside, wondering where he had gone. He wondered if he would ever see any of it again. The ship docked with the warship above, was led through corridors that seemed to go on forever. Everywhere he looked, there was beauty and power. Officers walked past him, staring with curiosity and contempt. He was probably the first human they had ever seen. Finally, they reached a large chamber. It was some kind of meeting room, with a high ceiling and walls covered in golden patterns. Commander spoke to someone through a device on his wrist. He was making a report guessed, telling someone about the situation. Lyra sat beside on a bench against the wall. She took his bound hands in hers. "They are contacting my mother," she said. "The Queen will decide what happens next." "Will she kill me?" asked calmly. Lyra was quiet for a moment. "I do not know," she admitted. "My mother is fair, but she is also practical. She does not like surprises, and you are a very big surprise." Nodded, he understood. He was a complication, an unknown factor in a universe of politics and power. The easiest thing would be to make him disappear. One dead farmer on an unknown planet. Who would care? Who would know? But he did not regret his choice. Looking at Lyra, at the tears drying on her blue cheeks, at the strength in her golden eyes, he knew he had done the right thing. Whatever happened next, he had helped someone who needed help. He had been kind when kindness was needed. That was enough. Lyra, he said quietly, whatever happens when we meet your mother, I want you to know something. These past weeks with you have been the most interesting weeks of my life. I am glad you crashed in my field. I am glad I found you. Lyra squeezed his hands. A small smile appeared on her face. I am glad, too. You are the strangest, bravest, kindest person I have ever known, human or... The door opened. Commander stepped inside, his face grim. The Queen's ship is approaching, he announced. She will meet the princess personally, and she wishes to see the human as well. Stood up. His legs felt weak, but he forced them to hold him. He was about to meet the most powerful person in the galaxy, the ruler of an empire that spanned countless stars, the mother of the girl he had saved. He was just a farmer from a small village on Earth, but he would face her with his head held high, because that was what humans did. The Queen's ship was nothing like the warship. Where the warship was strong and practical, made for battle and duty, the Queen's ship was beautiful beyond words. It connected to the warship through a long, golden corridor, and as walked down that corridor, flanked by soldiers, he felt like he was entering another world entirely. The walls were covered in living vines that glowed softly. The floor was smooth as glass, reflecting their images like a mirror. Music played from somewhere, soft and haunting, filling the air with sound. Everything was designed to show power, to remind visitors that they were in the presence of royalty. Lyra walked beside. She had been given new clothes, a flowing dress of silver and gold that marked her as the princess. She looked beautiful and regal, nothing like the scared, bleeding girl had found in his field. But she still held herself close to him, still glanced at him with worried eyes. Remember, she whispered, do not speak unless my mother asks you to speak. Do not look directly at her eyes unless she gives permission. And whatever you do, do not show fear. She respects strength. Nodded, his heart was beating fast, but he kept his face calm. He had faced many difficult things in his life. Droughts that ruined his crops, storms that destroyed his home, loneliness that lasted for years. He had survived all of it. He would survive this too. They reached a large door at the end of the corridor. It was made of some kind of crystal, carved with images of stars and planets and strange creatures. Commander stepped forward and announced their arrival. The door opened silently. The throne room was massive. The ceiling was so high that could barely see it. Columns lined the sides of the room, each one carved to look like a different alien species. There were creatures with wings, creatures with many arms, creatures that seemed to be made of light itself. All of them bowed toward the center of the room, toward the throne. And on the throne sat Queen. She was the most beautiful and terrifying person had ever seen. Her skin was a deeper blue than Lyra's, like the ocean at night. Her hair was pure white, falling around her face like a waterfall of snow. She wore a crown of crystal and gold that caught the light and scattered it across the room. Her eyes were the same golden color as Lyra's, but colder, sharper, like the eyes of an eagle watching its prey. She sat perfectly still, her hands resting on the arms of her throne. Guards stood on either side of her, warriors in silver armor who looked like they could destroy armies without breaking a sweat. Behind her, advisors and nobles watched with curious eyes. Was pushed forward by the soldiers. He stumbled, then caught himself, walking the rest of the way with as much dignity as he could manage. His wrists were still bound, and he felt every eye in the room upon him. He was an alien here, a strange creature from an unknown world. He did not belong. But he kept walking. He stopped at the bottom of the stairs that led to the throne and stood there, head held high, waiting. Lyra walked past him and climbed the stairs. She knelt before her mother, her head bowed. "Mother," she said, "I have returned." Queen's expression did not change. She looked at her daughter for a long moment, then slowly stood and descended the stairs. She stopped in front of Lyra and touched her face gently, turning it left and right, examining her for injuries. "You are well," the Queen said. Her voice was low and musical, but there was no warmth in it. "I am pleased. When we received word of the attack on your convoy, I feared the worst." "The nearly succeeded," Lyra said. "I escaped, but my ship was damaged. I crashed on a primitive planet at the edge of known space, a planet called Earth by its inhabitants." "Yes," the Queen said, "your commander has informed me." Her golden eyes turned too, and he felt their weight like a physical force. "And this is the creature that found you." Creature, not person, not man, creature. Understood where he stood in the Queen's eyes. He was nothing, an insect, a curiosity to be examined and then disposed of. But he did not look away. He met the Queen's gaze directly, remembering Lyra's advice about respecting strength. Let her see that he was not afraid. Let her see that humans were more than primitive animals. The Queen walked down the remaining stairs and approached. She was taller than he expected, nearly a head taller than him. She circled around him slowly, examining him from every angle. Her eyes took in his rough farmer's clothes, his calloused hands, his simple face. "What are you?" she asked. "I am human," answered. His voice was steady. I am a farmer from a small village." "A farmer," the Queen repeated. Something like amusement flickered in her eyes. "A farmer touched my daughter. A farmer carried the heir to the Empire in his arms. Do you know what the punishment for that is?" "Commander told me it is death," said. "Yes, death." The Queen stopped in front of him, staring down at him with those cold, golden eyes. "And yet here you stand, still breathing, still speaking. Why do you think that is?" Considered the question. "Because your daughter asked you to let me live," he guessed. The Queen's lips curved slightly. It was not quite a smile. "My daughter has sent me 17 messages since we received the signal from your planet. Each one begged me to spare you. She has never begged for anything in her life. Not toys when she was a child, not mercy for servants who failed her. But for you, a creature she has known for a few weeks, she begs." The Queen tilted her head. Why would she do that? Looked at Lyra, still kneeling on the stairs. Her eyes were fixed on him, full of fear and hope. He looked back at the Queen. "Because I helped her when she needed help," he said. "I asked for nothing in return. I expected nothing. I just saw someone who was hurt and scared, and I did what any decent person would do. I took care of her." "Any decent person," the Queen echoed. "On your world, perhaps. In my empire, kindness without purpose is considered foolish, weakness. Everything must serve a goal, everything must have a reason." "Then maybe your empire has forgotten something important," said. The room went silent, the guards tensed, the nobles gasped. No one spoke to the Queen like that, no one dared. But continued. "On Earth we have a saying. The measure of a person is how they treat those who can do nothing for them. Your daughter crashed in my field with nothing. No power, no status, no way to help me or hurt me. She was just a scared girl who needed someone to be kind. I chose to be that person, not because I wanted something, not because I had a plan, but because that is what kindness means." The Queen stared at him. Her face was unreadable. The silence stretched on, heavy and dangerous. Felt sweat running down his back, but he did not look away. He had said what he needed to say. Whatever came next was not in his control. Then a voice broke the silence. A soft, clear voice that echoed through the throne room. "He saved me, Mom." Everyone turned to look at Lyra. She had risen from her knees and was walking down the stairs toward her mother. Tears streamed down her face, but her voice was strong. "He saved me," she said again. "When they would have found me, he hid me. When I was bleeding, he bandaged my wounds. When I was hungry, he fed me. When I was scared, he held my hand and told me everything would be okay. He did not know who I was. He did not care. He saw someone who needed help and he helped." She reached her mother and took her hand. "Mother, I have met many people in my life. Nobles, commanders, diplomats. They all treat me with respect because of my title, but treated me with kindness because of who I am, because of who he is. That is worth more than all the respect in the empire." The Queen looked at her daughter. For a moment, just a moment, something changed in her cold, golden eyes. Something softened. She touched Lyra's face again, wiping away the tears. "You have grown," she said quietly. "These weeks away from home have changed you." "They have," Lyra agreed. "And is the reason, please, Mother, spare him, not because it is practical, not because it serves a purpose, but because he deserves it, because it is right." The Queen was silent for a long time. She looked at Lyra, then back at Lyra. The whole room held its breath, waiting for her decision. Finally, the Queen spoke. "Unbind him," she commanded. The energy bands around his wrists disappeared. He rubbed his hands, feeling the blood flow back into them. He looked up at the Queen, waiting. "You have given me much to think about, human," she said. "Perhaps my empire has forgotten something. Perhaps we have been rulers for so long that we have forgotten how to be kind." She paused. "You will not die today. What happens next we shall see." Bowed his head. "Thank you, Your Majesty." The Queen turned and walked back up the stairs to her throne. But before she sat down, she looked over her shoulder at one more time. "Tell me, farmer," she said, "do all humans have your courage, your foolish, reckless, pointless courage?" Thought about his home, his village, his people. He thought about the stories he knew, the history he had learned. Humans had always been fighters, dreamers, believers in impossible things. They had crossed oceans, climbed mountains, reached for the stars. "Yes, Your Majesty," he said, "I think we do." The Queen nodded slowly. Something like respect flickered in her eyes. "Interesting," she said. "Very interesting indeed." 3 days passed on the Queen's ship. Was given a small room, simple but comfortable, with a window that looked out at the stars. He spent most of his time there, watching the universe drift by, trying to understand how his life had changed so completely. He was no longer a prisoner. The Queen had not decided what to do with him yet, but she had made it clear that he was a guest, not a captive. Servants brought him food, strange alien dishes that tasted like nothing he had ever eaten before. Some were good, some were terrible. He ate them all without complaint. Lyra visited him often. She told him about life on the ship, about the politics of the empire, about her mother's many responsibilities. Queen ruled over hundreds of worlds, billions of people, countless species. She made decisions every day that affected the lives of more beings than could imagine. It was a heavy burden. "She has been different since our talk," Lyra said one evening, sitting beside at the window. "Quieter, more thoughtful. I think your words affected her more than she wants to admit." "I did not mean to cause trouble," said. Lyra laughed. "You caused more than trouble. You made her question things she has believed for centuries. Do you know how rare that is? Advisors spend years trying to change her mind about small things. You made her reconsider the nature of kindness in one conversation." Shook his head. "I just told her the truth." "Yes," Lyra said, "and that is what made it powerful." On the fourth day was summoned to the throne room again. This time there were more people present. Nobles from across the empire, commanders of great fleets, ambassadors from allied species. They filled the vast chamber, hundreds of beings of all shapes and sizes, all watching as walked down the long aisle toward the throne. He had been given new clothes for the occasion. Simple but elegant, a dark blue tunic and pants that felt like silk against his skin. He walked with his head held high, his steps steady and calm. He was not afraid anymore. Whatever happened, he had done nothing to be ashamed of. Queen sat on her throne, dressed in white and gold, more beautiful and terrible than ever. Lyra stood beside her, wearing her silver princess gown. Both of them watched approach with unreadable expressions. He stopped at the bottom of the stairs and waited. The Queen rose from her throne. The room fell silent instantly. When she spoke, her voice carried to every corner of the vast chamber. "3 weeks ago, my daughter's ship was attacked by the... She escaped, but crashed on an unknown planet at the edge of known space. She was injured, alone, hunted by enemies who wished to use her against me. The queen paused, letting her words sink in. She should have died. By all logic, by all probability, she should have died. She looked at, but she did not die, because one being, one simple farmer on a primitive world, chose to help her. He did not know who she was. He did not know what helping her might cost him. He saw someone in need and he acted. He risked his life to hide her from the. He cared for her wounds with his own hands. He gave her food, shelter, and something far more valuable. He gave her kindness. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Could feel the weight of thousands of eyes upon him, judging him, measuring him. This farmer, this human named, was brought before me as a criminal, the queen continued. By our ancient laws, touching royalty without permission is punishable by death. Many of my advisors recommended that I execute him quietly and forget the whole matter. It would have been easy. It would have been practical. She descended the stairs slowly, each step deliberate and measured. But my daughter spoke to me. She told me about this human, about his courage, his honesty, his willingness to sacrifice himself for someone he barely knew. She asked me to spare his life, not because it served any purpose, not because it would benefit the empire, but because it was the right thing to do. The queen stopped in front of. She looked down at him with those golden eyes, and this time he saw something different in them. Not coldness, not contempt, something that might have been respect. I have been queen for 400 years, she said quietly, so only he could hear. In that time I have learned that power requires sacrifice. Emotion is weakness. Kindness is a tool to be used, not a virtue to be practiced. I ruled my empire with logic and strength, and I believed that was enough. She paused. But your words have stayed with me, of Earth. The measure of a person is how they treat those who can do nothing for them. I have not thought of such things in centuries. I had forgotten what it meant to be kind simply for the sake of being kind. She raised her voice so everyone could hear. My daughter taught me something these past few days. She showed me that the empire has lost something important. We have become so focused on power that we have forgotten compassion. We have become so obsessed with strategy that we have forgotten simple decency. The queen turned to face the assembled crowd. That changes today. From this moment forward, I declare a new policy for the empire. Kindness shall be valued alongside strength. Compassion shall be practiced alongside strategy. We shall not lose ourselves in the pursuit of power. She turned back and to honor the one who reminded us of these truths, I hereby declare of Earth a friend of the empire. He shall be granted our highest civilian honor. He shall be welcome in any world, protected by any ship, and his planet Earth shall be placed under our protection as well. The crowd erupted into noise. Some gasped, some shouted, some applauded. The nobles and commanders looked at each other in shock. A primitive human honored by the queen herself. It was unprecedented. It was impossible. It was happening. Lyra stepped forward, tears streaming down her face once again, but this time they were tears of joy. She threw her arms around and hugged him tightly. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for everything." Hugged her back. His own eyes were stinging. He had never expected any of this. He had just wanted to help a scared girl who crashed in his field, and now he had changed the fate of an empire. The queen approached them. She placed a hand on shoulder and her touch was gentle. "You have given us much of Earth. You have reminded us what it means to be good, not just powerful. That gift is more valuable than any treasure." "I only did what anyone should do," said. "Perhaps," the queen said, "but you were the one who did it, and that makes all the difference." She smiled, and it transformed her face, making her look younger, softer, almost human. "We will take you home now. Your farm, your dog, your quiet life awaits, but know that you are always welcome among us. You have earned that honor." Bowed his head. "Thank you, your majesty." The journey back to Earth was different from the journey away. This time was not a prisoner but an honored guest. Officers greeted him with respect. Soldiers nodded at him as he passed. Even Commander, who had wanted to kill him, offered a stiff bow. Lyra stayed with him until the very end. She walked with him to the small ship that would take him back to his village. They stood together at the boarding ramp, neither wanting to say goodbye. "Will I see you again?" asked. Lyra smiled. "Of course, I am the princess. I can visit any world I want, and I want to visit yours, often." "You are always welcome," said. "My home is small, but there is always room for a friend." Lyra hugged him one last time. "You saved my life, but more than that, you saved my heart. You showed me that there is goodness in the universe, even in the most unexpected places. I will never forget that." "Neither will I," said. He boarded the ship. The door closed. Through the window, he could see Lyra waving, her silver dress shimmering in the light. He waved back until the ship entered the atmosphere and she disappeared from view. The ship landed in his ruined rice field. The hole from Lyra's crash was still there, though the broken escape pod had been removed. Stepped off the ship and breathed in the air of home. It smelled like earth and grass and growing things. Came running from the house, barking joyfully. She jumped on, licking his face, her tail wagging so hard her whole body shook. He laughed and held her close, burying his face in her warm fur. "I missed you too, girl," he said. "I missed you too." He looked up at the sky. The sun was setting, painting the clouds in shades of orange and pink. Soon the stars would come out, and now he knew that among those stars he had friends. An empire watched over his world. A princess thought of him with gratitude and love. He was still just a farmer. His field was still ruined. He would have to work hard to rebuild. But everything was different now. He had seen the universe. He had touched the stars. And he had proven that even the smallest person with nothing but kindness in their heart could make a difference. Smiled and walked toward his house at his heels. Tomorrow he would start replanting his field. But tonight he would sit on his porch and watch the stars, knowing that somewhere out there, a princess was watching them too. Because that was what humans did. They dreamed. They hoped. They reached for things beyond their grasp. And sometimes, just sometimes, they changed the universe simply by being kind.